flip. Ah, okay, sorry. Right. Maybe. Maybe. Nope. Ooh. Oh, hello. Huh? Ha. Ha. Let's see if this works. Brightness, be my friend. Now I'm a ghost. Good. That'll have to do for the moment. I can't be bothered to do any more. New room, new me. I've got everything you can need. I've got a cool map. I've got a wall you can lean upon. I've even got a bed that I'm going to jump on if I get too angry at the historical figures. I call it my lunging bed. I don't call it my lunging bed. It's just a bed. Video. Hopefully I'm in focus. If not, lol, I'll do the whole thing again some other point. I don't think this is straight. That's better, I think. If not, I'm going to poo myself. This can be used as the preamble. Here's something fun from history. The Berlin Conference of 1884. A very ominous title for a very ominous subject. Honestly, this isn't actually something very fun from history, really. Perhaps it would be better if I addressed it as something like, here's a way in which white old European men were a nuisance. Yep, that works a bit better, and it pretty much covers 90% of the modern/early modern history I know. Win-win! The Berlin Conference of 1884 was a conference held in Berlin in 1884. Thank you for listening to this one, beautiful people. I feel like I've rambled on for a while and there is so much more. Oh, he's a prankster! Oh, he's a jokester! Cracking them out today, isn't he? On the 15th of November, 1884, 14 imperial powers gathered in the Berlin Palace to sit in front of a 16-foot-high map of Africa, and everyone was there to discuss the one topic that was hot on everybody's minds. What's the deal with that Africa, huh? Huh? Because, of course, native people can never be left alone when there's imperialists about. Ooh. And boy, howdy was this a lineup, a real star-studded spectacle. We had all of the European major imperial powers there, plus some guest extras. I was going to try and remember this list of names, but I really can't bother, so I'm just going to read them off this laptop, because I'm so lazy. Sorry if I banged that on the recording disc. We got Austro-Hungary, Belgium, Denmark, France, Germany, Italy, Netherlands, Ottomans, Portugal, Russia, Spain, Sweden, Norway, United States. Words. Now, I'm going to try and remember these off the top of my head, so here we go. If I can't remember it, your mum. We got Austro-Hungary, Belgium. That's it. Only those two. They were kissing. We got Austro-Hungary, Belgium, Denmark, France, Finland. No, not Finland. Finland's not invited. Finland doesn't exist. Austro-Hungary, Belgium, France, Denmark. Austro-Hungary, Belgium, Denmark, France. Wait. Germany, Italy. Netherlands.
He's beginning to believe.
Ottomans. Sweden, Norway. United Kingdom, United States. Come on, any more? Flipping Spain and Russia! Anyway, we have the list. There's the list. The actual list. There we go. That's bizarre. A conference discussing Africa and what to do with Africa, and not a single African was invited. That's pretty quirky, if you ask me. Well, yes, obviously they're not going to invite actual African people to this conference. They were looking for ways to oppress the people, and they were mad condescending to any sort of native population anyways. Oh my goodness, look who it is. It's Tom when he stands on the other side of the screen. Welcome him to the stage, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, now stop. But what about the Ottomans? They did have a heavy presence in North Africa. Surely they can count as some sort of maybe middleman. Maybe that's why they were invited? Shut up. No, the Ottoman Empire was a Turkish empire, and they only sent a Turkish delegate to this conference. And besides, by this point, their whole empire was crumbling. France had taken Algiers in 1830 and was pushing their way through what is now modern-day Algeria. Italy was salivating over the thought of those Libyan territories, and Britain was looking to expand its sway in the Egypt area. It was only a facade of courtesy that kept them in this conference at all. Well, quite. Oh, that and Bismarck's desire to undermine the British and French monopoly over the continent, yes? Indeed, that's why there were so many delegates in this conference, even though only a couple of them were actually going to get much territory out of it. It was all to stop the cheeky boys from getting everything. What an absolute palaver, I think you'll agree. Officially known as the Conference on West African Affairs, its aim was to slice up the African pie so all those greedy little Europeans could have a little bite. Because they are peckish for land.
Squeak.
Give me land, mother.
Squeak.
I require land. I am hungry. Do it for mother, Clarence. Do it for mother. Oh, a quick side note. Before we start discussing what actually happened at the conference and how it affected things afterwards, we got to understand the relationship between the European powers and Africa. See, the Treaty of Tordesillas in 1494 had split the world in two between Spain and Portugal, thanks to the Pope. See, Spain got the majority of the Americas, whilst Portugal got a tiny bit where it is now Brazil, and also most of Africa, most of Asia, including the Indian subcontinent. This was legit just an Iberian fantasy though, because literally no one else cared. The other European powers chose to ignore it, especially after the Protestant Reformation, because who cares what the Pope says when you're a Protestant? The indigenous peoples ignored it and continued life as normal. Even the Portuguese ignored it when they slowly encroached their way through what is now modern day Brazil.
Wow.
Good job, guys. Africa was only just really being opened up to Europeans thanks to the invention of new technologies that allowed for easier transport, such as the steamboat, with explorers such as Henry Stanley or Dr. Livingstone leading the charge into the unknown. I think it's really easy to overlook just how flipping massive Africa is. It's huge. The Europeans, yes, had established colonies across the coast, but to get in deep is very difficult without the proper technologies. So this exploration within Africa was seen as a sign of European modernity, the progress of their civilization. Yet no wonder people were getting so hyped up about the prospect of whole new areas to look about. People were no longer happy with the small enclaves they had acquired before the conference. Well, everyone except for the British, of course, because the British can't be happy with anything. The British liked how things were being done because they had such a special relationship with Portugal, having one of the oldest and long-standing alliances the world has ever seen. Big up my Portuguese pals. And they used that to basically peer pressure the Portuguese into giving them exclusive trade rights across all of Africa, which is all Britain really cared about, because Britain's all about the money, especially at this time. I should probably note. But also now. Everyone else was obviously not happy with this. France, for example, had already started pushing up the Senegal region to increase their trade across North Africa from around the 1850s. So you can kind of understand, even without taking into account the entirety of British and French history, why there's a bit of tension between the two here. But everyone else was also a bit on knife's edge. They didn't want anyone to have more power than the other, so a lot of the delegates continued to play one side off the other, promising to support someone's claim as long as they promised to support theirs, but also going to the other person and playing the same game, vice versa. It became just like one massive round-robin tennis match, really.
Match point!
Juice. Weird word. Thirsty. Thirsty for Africa juice. So thirsty. What am I doing? What am I doing with my life? Okay, so we know there were no Africans present, and it was just basically a race to see which European power could exploit Africa the fastest for their own gain, but surely they understood Africa, right? They'd visited it, seen the sights, gone on the safari tours, they understood what they were going into. No! Nope! Definitely not! You could not be more wrong if you tried! Only 2 of the delegates had actually ever set foot on Africa. And as I said, Africa's massive. It's not the same place on the north and the south. This was just a group of people who were so out of touch with what they were discussing, just carving up things for their own personal gain. And Belgium was arguably the worst of the lot, and that's because King Leopold II was literally a massive snake. Not literally. Although that would be funny. Here's his. See, the ruler of Belgium, King Leopold II, was going through a bit of empire envy at the time and was looking to get as much territory as possible as quickly as humanly possible. Hey, Leopold II, please refer to me as His Royal Highness, the King of the Belgians, Prince of Saxe-Coburg-Gotha, Duke of Saxony, the Grand Master of the Order of Leopold, and... No! Oh, okay. Aren't you meant to have some big bushy beard anyway? Yes, but shut up. Anyway, your envoy to the Spanish regarding your purchase of the Philippines has returned, your Madge. Oh, and? Yes, and? They declined. Obviously. What? No, oh gosh! Dang it, this is the most unfair! Why can't I have an empire like my first cousins, Queen Victoria of Great Britain, or King Fernando II of Portugal? I want one! 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 Keep your friends close and your family closer, it would seem. What am I going to do? I need an empire! I need one! I need one! I need one! If I don't get one this very moment, I'm going to cry! I'm going to... Wait, that sounds a little bit just... If I don't get it soon, I'm going to poo myself. Okay, this is going in a weird direction and might be quite offensive to all of those staunch Belgian royalists out there. If there are any. I will hold my breath until I die, and then there'll be a succession crisis and everyone will be unhappy and it'll just throw Europe into unbalance and everything will be bad. Okay, look. How about Africa? How about Africa? It's only just being explored. There's so much land there for us Europeans to take. What about the Congo? You really mean that? If it will shut you up, then yes. Excellent! Oh, be sure to bring lots of chopping implements. I'm sure they'll come in handy. The camera battery died, so you might be in a completely different place than you were a couple of seconds ago. But we like to spice it up here. So how did someone manage to grab a slab of territory almost 1 million square miles inside? Literally almost 75 times the size of the country they came from. But what about the British Empire? That's a very small island that took a lot of land. Shush. Shush now. Shushing time. Shush. We'll get to the British later, I'm sure. We can have plenty of time to talk about them, but now it's someone else's turn to ruin things. The winning combination of the day was imperialism mixed with anti-slavery, which sounds oxymoronic, I know, but it worked. People could get away with empire building as long as they did it in the name of anti-slavery. Even the act that was passed by this conference explicitly states that it was done to prevent slavery by African and Islamic powers. And Leopold fully understood this. He created the International African Association as a front to promote himself as a humanitarian who just wants to help those poor defenceless natives who don't know what's best for them. Ooh, he's slithery. He's slithery. He got officials from all over the world to support his organisation and to support his claims to Africa. And this is what allowed him to grab as much territory as he possibly could. To boost this even further, he also established a series of treaties across the Congo basin, across the Congo region, using that as an excuse why he has to look after the people there. And you already know they were bad deals. They were awful deals. They were absolutely terrible deals for the Africans. Some of them were so bad they literally gave away all of the trading rights and sole access to the waterways in the area to the Belgians for one piece of cloth a month. What a bargain! At the conference itself, the discussions became a massive back and forth as the different European powers tried to convince everyone else they were the ones that deserved to exploit that bit of Africa. It created the policy of effective occupation, where they had to prove that they were capable of looking after the native peoples there, usually through military force, hence why the military presence in the regions dramatically increased during this time. The conference ended on the 26th of February 1885, around 3 months later, at which point there was a new big boy map of Africa with random lines and colours splashed all across it. And this was the new Africa. It's part of the reason why some of the countries have their shape today. Just to put this into perspective and show you how important this event really was, before the conference, native Africans ruled over 80% of Africa. Afterwards, in the years following, that would reduce to under 10%. This was a huge tipping point for African-European relations. It also helped reinforce that cultural zeitgeist of Africa being this place that needs to be tamed. Primitive, backwards people who needed a European guiding hand, otherwise they wouldn't be able to forge anything themselves. It's like the historian Professor Terence Ranger said, African identities of tribe, gender and generations were bound together within the rigidities of invented tradition. So who was the biggest loser out of this whole thing? Spin the wheel. Who can guess it was the Africans? If you said anything other than the Africans, no. You really need to look at the horrors of the colonial powers. I haven't gone into it here because I was focusing more on the conference itself, but I might go into it later at another point to show what these people actually did to the native populations. It's easy enough living in a European colonial powered country to forget this, to move on from this, to be like, oh, well, surely it's not that bad, because we don't have to remember it in the same way. It was awful. People suffered. People died. But in terms of the imperialists, I'd say Portugal was probably the biggest loser out of this, mainly because they lost that claim to the entirety of Africa. Very clumsy of them, that they'd have since 1494. Hi, Tom editing here. I know they didn't have any actual authority in this claim. It's more of the principle of the thing. They didn't have the manpower or the resources to really hold firm that claim to the entirety of the continent of Africa. It was just the prestige of being able to assert that you had Africa in your pocket. But they also had most of their ideas shot down at the conference, like their idea of the pink map, which would have connected their colonies of Angola to Mozambique, that corridor through the belt of southern Africa. Now, whilst a place like Germany didn't get much land out of it, it did so much more for them. They didn't need the land really from it. They were there to establish themselves as a legitimate European nation, and they got mad prestige from it as well. Denmark and Sweden, Norway don't really exist, so they don't need to be counted in this at all. My audio went weird for the end, so I'm going to have to redo the whole thing here. But thank you for listening, beautiful people. I hope you've enjoyed watching. I feel like it's a massive topic that I've tried to cover here, and I've only really scratched the surface again. Let me know if this is a style that's working, if you're enjoying watching this sort of thing. I'm happy to go into more in-depth with specific examples, if that's what you'd rather, or I can continue this more overview style chat about what I like to talk about in history. But I hope you've enjoyed it. If you like it, let me know. Let me know if there's anything you'd like me to cover in the comments below, or on my TikTok, or at my Instagram. I have an Instagram now. Feel free to DM me. I might not respond because I'm an awful human being. But regardless, I hope you're having a good day. And see you next time, hopefully. God bless. On the 15th of November, 1884, 14 imperial powers gathered in the Berlin See, the ruler of Belgium... Can't even say the word Belgium. Oh, it doesn't exist. Thanks, Isora Production, for creating that meme.